We are back live with another Johnny Torch Live. 83rd edition of the live broadcast that's been going on since, let's see, October, I think. And we are bringing to you today our 91st Torch News Roundup. That's almost going on a year now. I think we started that in June, if I remember correctly. But here we are with one of my favorite broadcasts to do is the Torch News Roundup. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of exciting things going on in the news in sci-fi, superhero, and basically anything that interests me. So first of all, a brief shout out to Pilcon 18, Pilcon, the second annual Pilcon. I was there last Saturday. If you've been watching the show, you know that I've been hyping it up. And it was a great show. I want to thank Mo and all the people that organized it. They did a great job. I've met a lot of great people there, some familiar faces as well. And it's just great to be able to get out there and bring the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon to an unsuspecting public, because that's really the only time I get a chance to interact with the fans and, you know, garner interest in the book. So if you were there, let me know. And leave me a comment. I got the chat room open in case there are any live viewers, which I don't think there are. But if you're watching it on the rebroadcast, let me know in the comments below what you thought about the show, the Pilcon second annual convention, and you know, what you think about the book if you were one of the many, you know, recipients of said merchandise. And I'm going to do some more videos about the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon and some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and how I do it. Hoping to get some of that stuff done. We have another convention appearance coming up very shortly. As a matter of fact, I got the confirmation email today that they are setting up in the Radisson Hotel for the June 10th show that we are going to do there at KidsCon in Nashua, New Hampshire. So you haven't missed out your opportunity to see yours truly if you missed out on the Pilcon, because we have KidsCon coming up June the 10th. And I will be there, of course, bringing my dazzling showmanship and some copies of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon to autograph. We've got some goodies, which if you were at Pilcon, you probably know what the goodies are, but I've made a ton more goodies to bring along to the conventions on my circuit this year than last. And who knows, the convention circuit is possibly still ongoing. I'm looking into a couple more avenues to explore later on in the year. But for now, we have the June 10th date for KidsCon. Going to be an exciting show. There's a lot of cosplayers going to be there. There's going to be a lot of events for the kids, panels, and so forth. I'm not taking part in a panel this year, but also BB-8 is going to be there. I was excited because R2-D2 was supposed to be there, and I always wanted to meet R2-D2, but apparently I think just BB-8's going to be there. But I'll still meet him, and I'll be happy for him because he's enjoyed some success, even if the movies really weren't. And of course, it's a family-friendly event, as the term KidsCon would suggest. So June the 10th, check it out, Nashua, New Hampshire at the Radisson Hotel. And once again, thank you to everybody from Pilcon for the wonderful presentation we had there this past Saturday. All right, so let us move on now to the stuff that you came here for, the stuff at hand, the stuff. And now I'm just saying stuff for no reason. But all right, first up in our news segment here, we're going to take a look at the Netflix MCU series. We're going to go through all of them and see where they are. Actually, I don't have any new news about Punisher Season 2. I've seen a few images today. I don't really have anything on that yet, but basically we're going to talk Luke Cage Season 2, Iron Fist Season 2, and Daredevil Season 3. We will begin with, because this came out a couple weeks ago, but I was kind of waiting till we had some news on the other Netflix shows before bringing this one up, the trailer for Luke Cage Season 2. Now, there's apparently a new bad guy in town that has similar powers to Luke Cage, and his name is Bushmaster. Again, I'm not very well versed in Luke Cage or Hero for Hire comics, although I did I liked the Hero for Hire comics back in the 80s. I got a couple of them when I was a kid. I like the combination of them, Iron Fist and Luke Cage together, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're in any hurry to put them together, and for understandable reasons. I mean, you know, demographics and stuff. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to have enough trouble going through that later on tonight. But first off, let's take a look at this here. Just a brief rundown. Claire says that he's getting brutal. He's been robbed, but never brutal. And the barbershop guy there, I don't know his name on the show, Reggie Carey, the late Reggie. This is before he passed on, of course. Kind of is afraid that he's going to turn to the dark side here because apparently he's getting overconfident. In the beginning of the trailer, you can see he's like, you know, he's making a video and he's like, you know what I can do and come after me and this and that if you dare. And he's sort of like, you know, it's one of those things, pride comes before a fall. And apparently, you know, as the Bible states, and apparently his fall comes in the form of Bushmaster, which, as you can see here, looks like his skin is not impenetrable, but it still doesn't make the bullets go all the way through him. I don't know. It's kind of strange. As I said, I'm not familiar with this character. He appears to be a Caribbean gangster or something. And he cold cocks Luke Cage, and Luke gets bloodied. And, you know, this is the usual action where, you know, a couple of stupid mooks try to shoot him and, you know, with the expected result. Black Mariah is still in charge. She is still running that club there. And Shades, I think, is his name. I can't remember his name. The Hispanic guy, I think. He's still in it. I think I've seen there's a quick clip of him. So some of the same players are showing up. We get to see Misty Knight with a robotic arm. That was pretty cool. It doesn't look like it's as souped up as like some of the other stuff, but it does look more outer, you know, otherworldly sort of than Claw's prosthetic arm and Agent Coulson's prosthetic arm. So I did like that it doesn't look like a normal arm, which was kind of what I was afraid of. And it doesn't look too much like just the typical prosthetic arm, like Claw's. So anyway, apparently Claire is getting romantic with Luke still. You know, I think they kind of had the best chemistry of all the co-stars that Rosario Dawson had, you know, during the shows. I mean, you had Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, and, well, she wasn't really romantic with Iron Fist, but I could see them probably sticking around together. I think originally in the comics, they basically switched sidekicks. I mean, Iron Fist fell in love with Misty Knight, and Luke fell in love with Colleen Wing. So that's kind of interesting to see if that actually does happen. But of course, then later on, Luke has a baby with Jessica Jones. So that could also be in the works. I don't know exactly how they're going to hash all that out. I thought it was pretty funny at the end of it. He says, "This is my show," kind of breaking the fourth wall, so to speak, with Misty, because he says that, you know, he doesn't need a sidekick. And she says, "Maybe you're my sidekick." You know, that was pretty cool. All right, so let me know what you think about the Luke Cage Season 2 trailer. I got to admit, I wasn't a big fan of Jessica Jones. You know, it's a little too rough around the edges for me, so I wasn't really chomping at the bit to get my Netflix subscription back on just to see Jessica Jones. Punisher, I like the character, but if it's going to be just a gory bloodbath, I'm kind of hesitant to watch that one too. But I might get the old Netflix subscription back up for Luke Cage Season 2 because even though it was a little intense for my tastes, I pretty much enjoyed last season. There was a couple of things, like I said, I could have done without, because the Netflix shows basically is look at how much we can get away with, which has never impressed me. I mean, just because you can show stuff again with the stuff doesn't really make it important that you show that stuff. So, I don't know. But yeah, I'll probably try to check this out. I don't remember when it's going to be out now. I just saw the trailer literally 10 minutes ago. But apparently that's the next one that's coming up. So I would imagine a month's time or so, we will see Luke Cage Season 2. And let me know what you think about Luke Cage Season 2. And if you could tell me anything about Bushmaster, that would be very helpful, because I'm not fully aware of the character. We're going to move on now to some info gleaned on Reddit. Apparently, this is another one of those behind-the-scenes type guys that either works on the show or knows somebody that works on the show and is privy to some information. Now, before getting to that, it has been confirmed that Wilson Bethel will be playing the role of Bullseye this season. So we finally are going to see the Daredevil's arch enemy on the Netflix show. Of course, some people would consider Kingpin his arch enemy. I think the Kingpin is one of those characters that's sort of like an arch enemy at large. He's probably best known for being a Daredevil villain, but he's also a Spider-Man villain. And if there's any more of those, street level heroes, basically like they're showing on Netflix, they all pretty much have run afoul of the Kingpin. All right, so this is and of course, I don't really know this guy, this actor. He looks like he could play a pretty good version of it to me, just going by look alone. But it should be cool to see how this works out. Now, this is what the behind the scenes news we have is. Again, take it with a grain of salt because this is not official information, but chances are it's going to be the inside skinny. Okay, currently working on the first episodes of Daredevil 3. It starts really slow and introduces too many new characters. The plot could go either way. Hard to say at this point. All right, first of all, it's kind of strange. The plot could go either way at this point. They don't have the plot nailed down yet. I don't really understand what that means for a guy that's working on the show. But again, he's probably just a cameraman or something like that. I don't think he knows exactly what the script says. And he says they introduced too many new characters. Now, this has been the problem with Netflix all along with their shows, at least the MCU shows. I can't speak for all the other shows they've produced, but they draw out the shows to an agonizing level. And it's sad because they don't seem to know that they're doing it either. It's like they think they're making a good show, but they're basically dragging it out on a concept that probably could work in 3 episodes. They'll give it 15, just sort of being facetious, but that's kind of what it is. Look at the Defenders. Now, I thought the Defenders, a lot of people kind of didn't really cotton to that, I guess, cottonmouth. But I thought Defenders was actually pretty successful. They didn't really milk it for all it's worth. And I think it was about 6 episodes. It didn't outlive its usefulness. That's it didn't wear out its welcome, so to speak. They got to what they had to do, and they didn't milk it dry, the concept. Okay, so we'll continue on with the article here. They do a whole episode about Bullseye's background, and I think it's cinematically the best episode of all of the Marvel shows so far. That sounds interesting. Bullseye's background. I don't remember his background from the comics. I thought he was sort of a Joker type character where he didn't have a real background, didn't have a real origin. Kingpin gets all the files and tapes about Bullseye, and he walks through Bullseye's memories to look at his life. It is fantastic. All right, so that sounds pretty exciting, especially having Wilson Fisk back. The actor that played him was really, really good. What was his name? What was his name again? But yeah, he was really good. He was really good in that first season. And the second season, he had a small appearance. DD3 is a bit slow and convoluted. It really picks up the pace in the middle, and I think the end of the season might turn out great. Again, that's par for the course for the, kind of what I felt like with season 2. It was like, it started out so strong, and then it got muddled in the middle, and then the end was okay. I don't know. Bullseye is legit scary. Well, that's cool. Nobody wears their costume from the comics. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, dear. Did I have to hear that? Nobody wears their costume from the comics. What do I got to do to impress upon you that you can't have a superhero without the superhero wearing the superhero costume? The supervillain wearing a supervillain costume? I mean, we did the whole thing with Bullseye with Colin Farrell, and he was good as Bullseye. I liked his performance, but we already got that. The MCU was supposed to give us a more traditional version of the heroes and villains, and what are we getting? We're going backwards. We're going back to Rex Smith wearing the black leotard from Flashdance or something. Come on, man. What are you doing to me? MCU, what are you doing to me? I can only imagine that Kevin Feige has no control over the TV side still, because I don't know, man. They really, apart from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they really have dropped the ball. I mean, they did pretty good with Agent Carter, and I would have loved to see that show continue, because that was, it wasn't really a superhero series as much as just an actioneer, on par with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I suppose. But when they're trying to do superheroes in television, they just cannot get that authenticity of having the costumes, the the action. That's one of the things I was very disappointed on in Daredevil. He's a cinematic character. He is supposed to be leaping off buildings. He's supposed to be swinging on the billy club. What have we seen him do? And again, this has nothing to do with Charlie Cox. It's the same way I feel sort of like with Tom Holland Spider-Man. They're not doing justice to the character, but the actor is superb. This actor's fine. Don't change the actors. But you got to give me some cinematic quality action from a character like Daredevil. He's not Luke Cage. Luke Cage can go out and punch people, and that's fine. Bullets bounce off him. That's fine. You can do that on a TV budget. Iron Fist, arguably, you can do the same, with the martial arts, just as long as he's doing martial arts that are pretty, compelling. But Daredevil needs that cinematic quality. He needs that action feel. He needs to have the costume. And now you're telling me he's not going to wear a costume? And you're going to tell me Bullseye is going to be another guy in a black leather coat or something? Come on. How much do I have to suffer? How much are you people going to put me through this? I love Daredevil. It's one of the great characters, sort of an unsung hero, too, because he was probably on the level of Iron Man before Iron Man made it big. And people were like, oh, yeah, Daredevil. I think I remember. He was the blind guy, right? But he kind of never got that real push. I feel like he's still not really getting that push, even though a lot of people love the first season of Daredevil. I still am not really that thrilled with it. But it's, you got to give me that four-color comics style. That's what I want to see. The four-color comics version of Daredevil. And as if any of you have seen, and I don't think anybody has because nobody watched it, but my top 20 favorite superhero films of all time, number 10 is Daredevil with Ben Affleck, because that's the closest they've come to giving us the cinematic Daredevil, the Daredevil that, leaps through the air and swings over rooftops and stuff. The CGI don't hold up that well, but still, it's a great movie. And that's kind of the only way we've got an accurate live action version of Daredevil after all this time. Okay, I'll suspend the rant for now, but you know how I feel. Daredevil is more of the same, but again, anything involving Bullseye is a standout. They really nail the fact that he's deadly from afar. Again, that sounds really cool. I think they seem to have nailed the nature of this character, which is good. All right, so that's basically it for this guy's Daredevil commentary. Again, I don't think the Netflix version of Daredevil is just for me. That's all. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Karen Page, because she was on Punisher's series, which I didn't really see, as I've mentioned before. I haven't seen it, but are they going to do some kind of romance with them? If I remember correctly, they aggravated me as well with the Defenders for that reason alone, where Daredevil was not wearing the costume for the majority of it, and he wore a stupid bandolier mask or whatever they call that over his head. They just can't get with the program that you need to have the accurate costume. Otherwise, it's not the character. Visually is half the thing. You need to visually realize the character. It's not just enough to give me the name. It's not just enough to give me the power set. You've got to give me the action. You've got to give me the radar sense. I want to see the world through Daredevil's eyes. We've seen that like once, didn't we? Through the whole time they've been doing these shows. They need to give me the costume. And the costume, quite frankly, is okay, but it could be better. I still would probably prefer the Ben Affleck costume. But anyway, again, suspended rant. Let me know what you think about the Daredevil Season 3 story points that we've heard here. Do you think this is going to be exciting? Do you think this is going to live up to the other past incarnations of Daredevil in Seasons 1, 2, Defenders? Let me know in the comments below. And we'll move on now to Iron Fist Season 2. Now, this is a strange thing because I actually liked Iron Fist probably arguably the most of all the Netflix shows. And they also didn't really do justice to the character. He didn't have the costume. He didn't have the nothing flashy about the powers other than his fist glows. But I was pretty impressed with the show. Maybe it's because I don't have the emotional investment with Iron Fist that I do with Daredevil. But okay, so this guy apparently is the same guy on Reddit. He says Iron Fist is top notch, shorter season. I think that benefits all the Netflix shows, to be honest with you, because I didn't feel half as bored with Iron Fist as I did all the other shows, Daredevil, Luke Cage. They needed to be shortened, but Iron Fist, I think the problem was the first 4 episodes were pretty dull and unnecessary. And I think if they cut 2 of those episodes out and reworked the other 2, you probably would have had a much more concise and a better season. So shorter isn't necessarily better, but I think in the case of the Netflix shows, whenever they say shorter, I think it's a good idea. Better pacing, better everything, really. They rely on a very tired trope for one of the main plot points, but it works somehow. But what does that mean? A very tired trope. Well, I can only imagine maybe they're talking about. We were left with 2 things last season. We were left with the bad guy, his old buddy, turning on him, and then we were left with Joy turning on him. So maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. Let me know what you think if you think you can decipher that cryptic statement. Misty and Colleen steal the show. All right, so Misty Knight will be back in this one too, even though she's in Luke Cage, and of course Colleen Wing. This is her show basically. She was great in the last season, by the way. She really held a lot of, what was good about the show. It was a lot to do with her. To take nothing away, though, of Iron Fist actor, I thought he was great. Okay. Only a part of the costume will be included, and only as sort of an Easter egg. Again, you're doing this to me. You're doing this to me again. Part of the costume will be involved as an Easter egg. So what does that mean? Does that mean he's going to have a yellow shirt on at some point or something? I mean, a green shirt with a yellow collar or something, and it's supposed to be, oh, wow, that's cool. He's got a shirt on that looks like the shirt that he's supposed to be wearing all the time. Or is he going to just put one of those do-rags over his head like Matt Murdock? Oh, man, it would be funny if it wasn't, I'm supposed to be taking this seriously. I'm supposed to be taking these shows seriously as superhero entertainment. How am I going to take this seriously as superhero entertainment when you won't show me a freaking costume on a superhero show? Show me the darn costume. Show me. Jeez, you're not getting enough money to build a costume, a suit? I don't even think the Iron Fist costume would cost much. It's basically a spandex leotard type thing. I mean, it's not like it's supposed to be bulletproof or something. Oh, man. They're going to get to me. They're going to get to me. Iron Fist choreography has improved a lot, which is good. They took it on the chin for that last time, but I have a feeling that it wasn't that bad, but they just didn't have time to really do it because they rushed it into production. They didn't really have time to really choreograph it. So, Danny looks competent now and has cool moments, but the standout scenes in Iron Fist are the ones that involve Colleen. Mm-hmm. The villain is exactly who you would expect. Again, is that the guy? I can't remember his name, but he was the guy from Kunlun, and he kind of was hoping he was going to be the chosen one or whatever. But he is very well written, and his motivations are believable. Well, that's good. They even sort of make me buy Joy's. They even sort of make me buy Joy's betrayal, which I found immensely stupid at first. Well, that's good because, quite honestly, it was kind of stupid. They really didn't cement that one very well. They didn't stick the landing on it, but that's what's good about having a second season where you can kind of tighten up the plot threads and try to give them a little more oomph, a little more zest, as it were. So I'm excited about this, definitely more than Daredevil and more than Luke Cage. I want to see Iron Fist season 2. And from what I understand, I think Iron Fist had gotten very good numbers from Netflix. They got a lot of views on it, but they weren't getting a lot of great feedback and many good reviews off it, but they were getting the views. So anyway, Let me know what you think. What do you think about Iron Fist Season 2? And are you excited about it? What do you want to see in it? Is it going to be just more of the sort of bargain basement Kunlun stuff? Are we going to actually get to see something, spectacular in Kunlun? Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, so next up, our next exciting feature we have here. All right, we got it's not even really an official, well, I guess it's official, but it's sort of a promo picture. This is like the marketing for Shazam so far has been woefully mismanaged. Let's put it that way. To be very, very respectful, it's been woefully mismanaged. They didn't officially show a picture of him in costume. They didn't officially give us any indication of how this is coming along in production. It was just basically people taking snapshots from a roof, getting scenes of it. And so now they finally released a image of Zachary Levi with an image of himself as Shazam, formerly known as Captain Marvel. And, the picture looks great. I like the costume. It's pretty much par for the course. The sort of molded rubber with the little doodads, ingrained in the fabric. The texture is sort of very three-dimensional. But again, I don't know. Why are they seem to be afraid. And, WB has always been kind of afraid of doing this. Look at Aquaman. That's further along in process, and we still haven't seen a trailer of it. And, it doesn't fill you with much confidence, I suppose, that they don't seem to be pushing out official photos and trailers and things and getting the public hyped, because they're really just sort of hemming and hawing and dragging themselves, kicking and screaming, to the front page of comicdom. Okay, so we have on Twitter a guy named Daniel Ellison, I believe is how you pronounce it. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. He apparently was privy to some of these panels or something where they were talking about the DC movies. And his tweet about the Shazam movie was actually the most interesting, although I could talk about the other ones he talked about. But he said, as far as Shazam was concerned, WB brought out Zach Levi to tease Shazam, and I was super impressed. A lot of amazing set photos, including the whole Shazam family in costume. Well, that's interesting. We were led to believe that while all these young actors were cast, they weren't necessarily going to be in costume. But apparently they're going to go the whole 9 yards and give us the full costume of Captain Marvel Jr., who will now be called, I don't know, Shazam Jr., Mary Marvel, which, again, where does Marvel come in? Because his name's not anymore. Well, anyway, whatever. Continuing on here, he says, the feel of the movie is Big meets Superman. Looks like it will have a different tone, but I can't wait. Also saw full costume shots. So Big meets Superman seems to be what people are saying about this. I always kind of thought it was going to be more Superman meets Little Orphan Annie, because, it's a hard knock life and that stuff. Because originally in the comics, at least going back to the original Fawcett days, you had Billy Batson was sort of a street kid, and then later on he sort of like he got a radio gig as a radio host, like a 10-year-old radio host, which I guess was a novelty back then in those days, because they did that a couple of times, I think, back then. But anyway, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see exactly how they do this. And yeah, I like the lightning bolt effect there on the chest. It kind of looks kind of goofy. I don't know why they would release this as the first image, because apparently they want to try to get you acclimated to the tone that it's not going to be really a super serious movie, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. As someone who liked Thor Ragnarok and stuff like that, it's not really a bad thing to go on a lighter tone. In fact, I will usually welcome it. But I don't know. Also, I didn't really prepare for the an image here for this, so to speak. But also, Daniel Ellison, apparently, he also said that he'd seen a panel with information here about the new Wonder Woman movie, Wonder Woman 2, where he sort of alluded to the fact that it's something that they were going to try to do with Cheetah, which kind of like makes people. It kind of led me to believe that they're going to make Cheetah be the animal Cheetah, which, not my particular choice for what I would do with the Cheetah, but not really completely unexpected. And he also intimated that there would be a new Wonder Woman costume, which, of course, really upset me because I don't want this to go full SJW where they're going to have her wearing pants and all this and that, like they did in the television, a failed television pilot. Because as they have it right now, they've got a pretty reasonably authentic costume. Don't mess around with it. Don't monkey around with it. We don't need to be dictated to what an Amazon wears, especially at this stage in the game when she's been around for a couple of 100 years. Don't go pulling that stuff. Don't pull that stuff. And of course, that's the subject we're doing here. The SJWs, they ruin everything. So let's hope that they don't start pulling their influence on Warner Brothers. And also, some more information here. Apparently, the Flash movie is no longer going to be Flashpoint Paradox adaptation. They walked that back, I think, about a month ago. But the most recent information that I have on this, so we did a video, and you could probably still find it in my playlist down there somewhere, where we painstakingly overlooked the entire process of this Flash movie from beginning to end, and just how ridiculous it's been that they've tried to get this movie off the ground, changed their minds about it 1,000 times, went through directors like water through a sieve. Apparently now Flash will not be a Flashpoint Paradox, but will just be a standalone adventure. And Kiersey Clemons is confirmed to play Iris West. She was originally hired by Rick Famuyiwa for his incarnation of the Flash. Scenes were shot with her for Justice League, which were ultimately excised, apparently just to lead into, the solo movie. But they probably figured it's best just to give her introduction in a Flash movie. So it was confirmed that she is going to still play Iris West, and there is going to be a new Flash movie that is not going to have anything to do with Flashpoint Paradox. I would hope that maybe the Flash movie is going to be all the Rogues. That's what I would love to see. The Rogues are Gorilla Grodd, but I mean, we got like the Rogues here and there on the Flash. We really haven't gotten the Rogues teamed up, I don't think, very much on the Flash. I think we got a team up of, 2 of them at a time? I mean, you get either Captain Cold and Heatwave, or you got Mirror Master on the top. I mean, we really didn't get the whole crew. And if they can introduce them maybe and have them sort of pull together. We already were introduced to Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad, which was a lot of fun. But if they get him together with, a new Captain Cold and Trickster and now Gorilla Grodd, was he really a rogue? I don't think so. I think he was sort of independent of them. But anyway, if they could get maybe an army of villains, that would be kind of unique, and it would tax the Flash because that's kind of the thing about having a speedster is he really can handle pretty much anything. The biggest challenge is another speedster, and there's so many speedsters on the TV side of the equation. I wouldn't necessarily want to put him up against Reverse Flash again this soon. But anyhow, let me know what you think about all the DC film news that we've just tackled. The new Shazam image that you see right before you, the Wonder Woman costume, hopefully not being ruined by SJWs, and the Flash movie no longer being Flashpoint Paradox. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's see, here is a big bit of news here. This was something that was pretty exciting and pretty well heralded amongst the fan community. Apparently, Jake Gyllenhaal is in talks to play Mysterio in Spider-Man 2, not to be confused with Spider-Man 2 starring Tobey Maguire or The Amazing Spider-Man 2 starring Andrew Garfield. This will be Spider-Man Homecoming 2, which of course they're not going to call it Homecoming 2. They're going to call it something else. But Apparently, he's in talks. I don't know if this means it's a done deal. Personally, I'm thrilled that they're using Mysterio. Always wanted to see Mysterio on the big screen with the big fishbowl head, with the purple cape, flashy as all can be. My concern is they're not going to make it that flashy, that they're not going to do the full snow globe head and everything. You need that. Again, I worry about this stuff. But my other concern, though, my bigger concern is that now Jake Gyllenhaal is not going to play Batman, probably. Unless, of course, that movie has been pushed back indefinitely, so to speak. But I would rather see Jake Gyllenhaal as Batman, really, than to see him play Mysterio. Because, to be honest with you, I always thought Mysterio was an older character. I mean, I thought you could get away with stunt casting in this case. They did that with Michael Keaton, where he's an older actor, and it's like, okay, we make a villain an older actor. I thought maybe this could be another case of that, where, you know, you've got a guy maybe more into his 50s, pushing 60, would play an interesting villain rather than, because he's got a fishbowl for a head, and he's a former special effects guy. You kind of see those guys living a hard life and getting a little older looking and stuff. But again, you know, I can't fault Jake Gyllenhaal if he does take this role because, you know, great actor and would be a great asset to the franchise. But part of me still hopes that he would do Batman, and probably, you know, the role could have gone elsewhere and still have been just as compelling. The Sun newspaper is the one reporting this. Also, Michael Keaton has been confirmed, apparently, to return as the Vulture in the Spider-Man sequel as well. We kind of saw that coming with the after credits tag, so that not really a big surprise. We also have the Scorpion to deal with because they teased him in that film too. So hopefully we got some exciting stuff going on. I mean, maybe we'll get the Shocker back as well with a better Shocker costume. Maybe we'll get the Scorpion. And this might either be the prelude, or this might be Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six. This might be the Sinister Six movie we all wanted to see, because we've got 3 of them there already. And, well, yeah, I guess 3. Scorpion, Shocker, and Vulture. And then we get Mysterio, that's 4. Could that lead to, like, maybe the Rhino and Green Goblin? Or maybe they'll do Dr. Octopus. I don't know if you put Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus on the same team. They're both kind of a little too strong for each other. Of course, you could also put Kraven. Kraven would be good, and you wouldn't really need to build him up too much either, I don't think. He just shows up in town to hunt. So, yeah, let me know what you think about Jake Gyllenhaal, who is actually going to be playing Spider-Man in the original Raimi films. He was looked at as a replacement in case Tobey Maguire's back injury was too much for him, but thankfully that didn't happen. And but he still gets a chance to be in a Spider-Man movie. So let me know what you think in the comments below. You like Mysterio? I like Mysterio. Not to be confused with Rey Mysterio. Okay, so we have, let's see. I thought this was interesting. This is an interview with Gregg where he talks about his future on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because obviously, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the last episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you might want to skip ahead on this video, but Phil was not cured, and he apparently was going to take the last week or 2 of his life to Tahiti with Melinda May, and possibly would die if there was not another season. Now, there's another season, so apparently, you know, he'll be back in some capacity. What kind of capacity is what Gregg was asked. It seems pretty clear that he's not long for this world, Gregg admitted. So sometime next week, I'm going to go sit down and talk to showrunners Jed Whedon and Marissa Tanchion and see if there's any future use for Phil Coulson, or if this young team of amazing actors continues without him and he shows up every once in a while in a flashback, or hopefully some of May's sexy dreams. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that if he comes back, he's not going to come back as a flashback or a dream sequence. He continues, "Come on, how many times can you bring somebody back?" He laughed. Well, in fairness, he was only brought back once. He's not dead yet in the show. Now, if he died again here, I would say, well, yeah, they're kind of pushing it, but he's not dead yet. There still is a chance to save him. I personally think, like I said, that they should have the Ghost Rider come back and take this curse off him. because I know he like paid the piper, so to speak, but Ghost Rider is not really supposed to be a benevolent character. They should have him do something heroic to save Coulson. That would bring him back, which would be fun because that the character was a lot of fun, I think. Gregg continues, I've always felt like Phil Coulson was a little bit on borrowed time. I think he felt that way, that he didn't ask for it, but he came to like it. There's a scene in the 100th episode where the fear dimension, whatever those beings were really trying to convince him he was still on the operating table, and this was what he needed in order to let go. His family and this daughter. And I think he got to have those. All right, and as well, they asked him, what does he think about not crossing paths with the Avengers, having survived and living in the underground of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 5 seasons? Gregg said, I think Coulson feels similarly to Clark, which is he feels very lucky to have gotten to take part in some of those magnificent adventures, and he felt lucky to have been able to show up for his friends and do his job on the helicarrier. So to have this incredible run of 110 other missions and to connect with this family and to have this daughter and to have a moment of great love, it's a lot more than most people ever get. So I think he will walk off into the afterlife feeling satisfied. So again, he's kind of trying to lay the groundwork that he might not come back, and it's possible. I don't think so. I don't think that'll be the case. They left him alive, I think, for a reason, to sort of always bring him back if they want him. And I hope they will. I don't see why they wouldn't, really. I mean, he's basically the heart and soul of this show. A lot of great actors, a lot of talented actors on the show, but I don't think the show's worth a darn without Clark Gregg, without Phil Coulson. They also asked him about seeing a younger, fresher Phil Coulson in the 90s thanks to next year's Captain Marvel. And they asked Clark how he prepared himself for playing a younger Coulson. And he said, I listened to a lot of Pearl Jam and put on some MC Hammer genie pants. So that's going to be fun to see him on the big screen again. It's nice that they thought to include him in that. And I don't know what they're going to use, like age-defining technology or something, because they probably don't really need to de-age him too much because he's aged very well from, it's only been about 10 years, but we're going back more like, what, sort of 25 years now to go to early 90s. All right, let me know what you think about Phil Coulson, and what do you think his final fate should be? Should they leave him and continue on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. without him, or do you think that he's necessary? He's needed for the show, and I think he's needed. I don't see a Marvel Cinematic Universe without him, to be totally honest. He's the heart and soul of the MCU. All right, so let's go to the Arrowverse for this one. This was a big story as well. We go to the CW, to the land of the hot lesbians, and they're going to add one more to the roster next season when the Arrow crossover is set to debut Batwoman. And my reaction is, of course. I pretty much predicted this about a year and a half ago now, where I said that they were probably going to turn Alex into Batwoman, but that was kind of problematic because you have a lot of baggage with the Batman universe and so forth. But I knew they were going to introduce Batwoman because they don't have to worry about her, bringing Batman with her. Now, you introduce Nightwing, you introduce Robin, you introduce Batgirl, all characters I would have preferred to see apart from Batwoman. But if you bring any of those characters, they're closely tied to Batman, and you're going to be wondering why Batman doesn't show up. Batwoman has next to nothing in common with the Bat family. She really is an outsider to that team. Now, I haven't read any Batwoman recently. I mean, I am going off some prior knowledge. I don't really know too much of how the characters progressed in the comics, but basically, she's a lesbian, which makes her made to order for the CW because for some reason, it's honestly getting pretty frustrating because, and I imagine they're going to try to spin her off into her own show. I think they were going to try to do that with the Ray, but then they realized that nobody gives really a crap about the Ray. But maybe it's because Greg Bertolani is gay and he's basically trying to force this agenda. But really, I'm honestly starting to feel the way I do about the comics now, that the SJWs have taken over the CW, where it's more about, you know, the mission statement. We've got to get a gay, lesbian, LGBTQ character in every show. We've got to focus on that in every show. We've got to have that be front and center of every show. And people don't care. That's part of the problem. But we're going to get to that in a second when we do our last story here. So I'll hold off on my rant a little bit about that. But I would have preferred to see Nightwing. He was rumored to be the case, for several seasons, with Bloodhaven being mentioned and so forth. But we never got a Nightwing. Now we're going to get Batwoman. Apparently, also Gotham is going to be, mentioned, if not visited. And this is going to be part of the crossover. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. Are you excited about Batwoman being part of the crossover? Do you think that this is going to be too SJW laden, as I've been saying the past 2 seasons? As I said, they really didn't beat us over the head with this for the first 2 or 3 seasons. And strangely, the Flash isn't really overly inundated with SJW messages and stuff, but basically all the other shows are having this kind of, to the detriment of the shows in some cases, especially Supergirl, where, and they're starting to do it too with the Legends of Tomorrow, where they're going to have to force a romance on Sarah because, she can't be happy without a romance, and even though she's bi, she has to be seen in a lesbian romance. What do you think about this? Do you think this is going to be more of plotting us down the road to SJW dumb and hitting us over the head with gender identity politics and all that stuff? Or do you think this is actually going to be pretty tame? Do you think this is actually going to be kind of timid? Let me know in the comments below, and we will continue on here with our next segment, which is actually very closely connected to this. Now, I'm sure if you've seen this news, it's been spreading all over like wildfire, all over the internet. And this is our segment that we like to call, How Are They Ruining Star Wars Now? Basically, this interview with Jonathan Kasdan came out, and he's confirming that Lando Calrissian, the consummate ladies' man in the galaxy, the macho of all macho guys in the Star Wars universe, is pansexual. Now, those of you who don't know what that means, which I probably didn't know what that meant either, was basically means that he'll boff anything and anybody in any species, and android or sentient or whatever. And so this is where we've come to, folks. This is where we've come to in the Star Wars universe. It's gotten way beyond even the SJW. This is just crazy. This is crazy stuff. All right, so this is the interview that I'll read it, even though I'm sure you've heard it by now, because there's been a wealth of other viewers, other YouTubers have done a video on this subject. But in case you haven't as well, here it is. Jonathan Kasdan said, "I would say yes. There's a fluidity to Donald and Billy D's portrayal of Lando's sexuality. I mean, I would have loved to have gotten a more explicitly LGBT character into this movie. I think it's time certainly for that, and I love the fluidity, sort of the spectrum of sexuality that Donald appeals to, and that droids are a part of." Droids are a part of this. This sounds kind of creepy, kind of scary. Sort of the spectrum of sexuality that Donald appeals to, and that the droids are a part of. Okay, Kasdan also said he doesn't make any hard and fast rules. Doesn't make any hard and fast rules. I think it's fun. I don't know where it will go. Okay, so basically, like I said, they're going to ruin Lando. They basically are ruining Lando. They're going to say that he's not just a ladies' man. He's a man's man. He's a droid's man. He's a Wookiee's man. And this is like the sad state of affairs that Star Wars is in now, that we're even having this conversation. I kind of can't help but blame George Lucas on this, because, I think he handpicked Kathleen Kennedy thinking it was in safe hands. And Lawrence Kasdan, of course, wrote Empire and Jedi. He wrote, he co-wrote Force Awakens. You would kind of think he knows what to do with these characters. But Jonathan Kasdan, I guess, has different plans. He has other ideas. And this is kind of the thing that saddens me, because we see this a lot in, because as we all know, if you've watched this show any amount of time, I don't like race-changing characters. I don't like gender-changing characters. And I don't like orientation-changing characters. This is kind of what's been going on. Like, for instance, as I said, in, like, say, Krypton, the television show, where they had Adam Strange sort of giving the once-over to a naked guy. And, in the comics, there's never been any kind of equation of being bi with Adam Strange. And it's the same thing here, where they're trying to appeal to a demographic by changing an existing character. And it's absurd. The sad truth of it is, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this, but this is the God's honest truth. Basically, the LGBTQ community is only comprised of roughly 5% of the population of America, which means a whopping 95%, and that's kind of being generous. Some people say it's less than that, but let's say that for the sake of statistics, there are some people that are on the QT and not really admitting it if they're bi or something else. Okay, let's say it's at least 5%, maybe a little more. We've got roughly 95% of the country that is not gender fluid, because most people have a set standard of sexuality and they don't change that. That's not something that they would try to have you believe is either changeable or everybody's born with sort of a neutral sexuality. And it's not true. That's not the case. That's not what happens. 95% of America is heterosexual, and they don't change that. But they try to appeal to the LGBTQ community as if at least 50% of the country is gender neutral or gender fluid or whatever way you want to use SJW terms. That's frankly not the case. And so they're appealing to a small demographic. And again, we could put this to the CW shows with their frequent, incessant adding of homosexual characters, and the portion of Americans that fit that demographic does not justify the overabundance of characters that they are trying to load into these shows and movies and series. Now, it's always been, my statement is that if you want to create a LGBTQ character from the scratch, from the ground up, that's fine. That's your business, and that's not going to step on any toes. But the fact is, when you're going to load the scale so ridiculously in the other direction than what is in the face of stark reality, you're going to get a lot of raised eyebrows and say, this is not really the way it works. This is not the way the world works. The world isn't necessarily like that. And I think that's the reason why you're getting a lot of criticism of some of these things, especially in the case of Lando Calrissian, who was, strictly speaking, a ladies' man. That was what everybody liked about him. And again, they want to soften his character. They want to soften him up and say that he can do just about anything. He can appeal to just about anyone. That's not the way the character was designed. That's not what Billy Dee brought to it. He was suave and debonair and charming, but he was also a ladies' man. So again, what are they going to do to ruin Star Wars next? Again, I am not going to boycott Solo. I am still going to see the film, and I am still going to have an open mind about it. I am not going to go in there with the mindset that it's going to be terrible, it's going to be awful, and then I'm going to bash it the minute I get out. I'm hoping that, as we've seen in this interview here, he basically says it's not an explicit, quote-unquote, LGBT character. So I'm guessing that they're going to have some, let's say, playful banter between him and that robot or whatever she is. And they're going to sort of suggest in that way Lando's proclivities. I don't know. But again, I'm going to hope that's just sort of going to be on the down low, and we'll be able to enjoy the film for what it is, as just a harmless space romp, which it should be. And, hopefully the hopefully the upper management of Disney gets kind of a clue on what's going on here, because what what Star Wars really needs, and it really, you could tell I'm agitated because I love Star Wars as much as anybody. This was my franchise. And basically, it's been shoved now to the bottom of the list of everything else. What they need is another Kevin Feige. They need someone that loves the material. You don't see Kevin Feige trying to overload his films with pandering to all different kinds of demographics. He's not trying to do an SJW message about homosexuality. He's not trying to do an SJW message about, animal rights. He's not trying to do a SJW movie about, women in the workforce. I don't know. You don't get all these politics thrust in your face in a Marvel movie. Arguably, there's a couple of instances here and there that might be under that umbrella, but it hasn't been something that beats you over the head with it yet. We haven't gotten to that point in the MCU. A lot of people are afraid that Captain Marvel is going to be where that happens. We'll probably see some trace elements. I trust Kevin Feige. I don't think he's dumb enough to jeopardize everything he's built up to sort of start throwing SJW politics in your face. I have confidence in him that he knows what's up. He's savvy. He knows what's up. And again, there was another interview, one with Donald Glover, which I didn't even bother getting that one because he's basically just making light of the fact that, yeah, the universe is a big place and Lando's adventurous, he's courageous and whatever. Oh, man. But again, Star Wars is suffering, kids. Star Wars is in bad hands right now. And I'm hoping, Solo is going to surprise a lot of people, hopefully, and be a success, be good, which is more important than being a success. There's been some, I haven't really followed it too closely. There's been some videos and articles about how the Rotten Tomatoes is really plummeted lately because the reviews are in, even though the film isn't out. Film is going to be out tomorrow, as a matter of fact. I will be seeing it next week, so you can probably expect a review on Solo come Wednesday. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the current state of Star Wars. Let me know what you think about Solo. Are you going to boycott it? Are you going to see it? Are you excited about it? Are you not? Let me know what you think. I think boycotting it really is the wrong thing. I think it sends the wrong message. If it's really bad, I think you're going to really see a real large blowback against Episode 9. But Episode 9 is really what needs to be directed all of the hate and the fury at, because basically they ruined, and again, I'm not going to go into that all over again, but they basically ruined Luke Skywalker and the core trinity of the Star Wars universe, Han, Luke, and Leia. They pretty much ruined that. All right, we got a segment now we like to call Mailbag. Mailbag. Every once in a while I'll get a comment. I ask for comments, I never get them. This one, kind of criticism, I guess. You guys love to criticize me. You guys love to criticize me on that Phantom of the Opera video. I mean, not so much on the confines of the video, but I mean on the true nature of the story or whatever. So we're going to have somebody else take me to task on the nature of the story. Here we go. This is Joe St. George, who dropped me a line about a week ago, and he says 520. I guess that's the point in the video where he's going to be talking about 520. It's not supposed to be. It's a mystery horror story. In the book, it's about Christine's character growth. And the Phantom is just an obstacle for her to overcome. In fact, he's barely in it until the end. It's told from Raoul's point of view, and everything we know about the Phantom up until about the last third of the novel is told from rumors and Christine talking to Raoul. Do I think it can work as a love story? Yes, I do. I like the Lloyd Webber version, but don't be mistaken, it's not meant to be a love story. And don't forget about the father ending that was supposed to be in the script. That might have affected it as well. Rant over. Good review. All right, so thank you, Joe, for saying good review anyway. I get a lot of that. But, all right, to start off, I didn't read the novel. Of course, that seems pretty evident because I didn't mention a whole lot about the novel. But it's sort of like Dracula, well, even Frankenstein, those famous novels from the horror stories really took their own shape and form in the films, you know, in the cinematic representation. That's why people don't really go back to the book for Dracula, because that was mostly told as a series of notes. I didn't really read Dracula too much either, so I'm not claiming to be an authority on that, but it's basically like diary entries. Jonathan Harker says this, and then something happened between Dracula and Mina, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that there's always a change. So what I'm trying to say is the fact that they changed it a little bit from the focus, I don't think necessarily means that it's the wrong focus, because in many cases, what we know about these stories, or what we love about these stories, are more from the, you know, cinematic adaptions. And again, with the Claude Rains version, the 1941 version, it's sort of, you know, it came after the Lon Chaney version, and I think people were more expecting there to be more of like a romance vibe even then. I mean, we've got the Lloyd Webber version now, which really traded on that, which, you know, kind of, you want to say, as I said in the video, in my review, that it's sort of a cross between both, because the Lon Chaney Phantom was more of a horror story, and the Lloyd Webber version was more of a love story. This could have been sort of like the happy compromise in the middle, but again, they had that original script, which had the Phantom being Christine's father, which I think really took all the teeth out of the script. You know, I mean, they kind of changed that at the end to make it more ambiguous. But had they left that alone and not had that originally written as the bare bones of the script, we probably would have got that middle ground that I really wanted it to be, which really kind of wasn't. But again, as I said in the video, it's kind of a vehicle for Nelson Eddy. You know, it's more opera than Phantom, which is the criticism I usually see with it. But again, as I said, it's really a great movie if you are interested in a good adaptation of Phantom of the Opera. Claude Rains, of course, one of the all-time greats, and you can never go wrong seeing him in any film. I think he really nails it here. And of course, as I said, the actress that plays Christine is my favorite actress of the Christine actresses. I thought she was very you know, had like a fresh quality to her, very fresh face, very innocent and energetic, kind of what I always imagined in Christine from the Phantom of the Opera. So again, thank you for the comment, and if anybody else wants to leave me any comments, I will usually read them on our mailbag section of the videos, because it's a lot more fun than me just writing back and saying 2 or 3 sentences and that's it. I get to talk about it a little bit here. Makes it a little more fun, for me at least. And, you know, if you have any more interesting takes on Phantom of the Opera or any of my other reviews, be sure to jot them down in the comments section and let me know what you think. And that about wraps up another thrilling edition of the Torch News Roundup. Johnny Torch Live went a little longer than an hour here, but a full-packed and concise look into the week of comic book news. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you think about the show. Leave me a comment in the comments below. Make sure you check out the description, where you'll find the link to my website, the comic page, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon. You can see all about my comic there. And you can also pick up copies as well. We have all the information there as well about my convention appearances, if you want to have directions and the location. We also have my link in the description below for my Twitter page. We do some fun stuff there. We got polls intermittently that I will put up for your approval. And of course, we have on my website, we've got the free preview of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon. So check that out, because if you have any, you know, curiosity about what the book is that I'm doing, you can check it out there. It's a free preview of a couple of pages that should whet your appetite. And so until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.